Have you ever dreamt about a PS2 being able to fit in your hands and play your old school games flawlessly without emulation? Well, that dream has now become a reality. Kind of. By far one of the craziest and most ambitious handhelds that I've seen come through the channel. And if you've been subscribed for a while, which you should be, you know that I have had a lot of handhelds come through the office, hundreds in fact. But this is the first handheld that has taken an actual PS2, crammed it into a handheld form factor, and is now selling it for a whopping $800. I know what you're thinking, $800 for this? You might as well buy a gaming PC. Yes. But these things are one of a kind, built to order. They're not something you can just buy off the shelf. So what I'm going to do is take you around the handheld, have a look at some gameplay, and see if it's worth $800. Anyway, before we do, let's take a look at today's sponsor. Otis is an investment platform that makes it possible for almost anyone to invest in shares of cultural assets, from rare Pokemon cards and graded Game Boy games to comics and classic sports cards. They have a free app which is available on iOS and Android that's easy to understand, has a clean user interface, and keeps you updated based on what's going on with your investments. Every week they have new drops allowing you to get first dibs on things like trading cards and graded video games. Just recently actually they dropped the Super Mario Bros. On NES that was WATA graded a 9.4. If you missed the drop, don't worry, you can buy shares from other Otis members and even sell yours should you want to invest into something else. The reason I love this app is because nowadays buying rare Pokemon cards and graded games outright is just near impossible. So Otis opens up this opportunity to everyone and allows you to invest in as much or as little as possible. Sign up for Otis within the link in our description and get your first share free when you fund your account. Terms apply. So here it is, the PlayStation 2 Portable, also known as the PS2 Mini X. And as you can tell, it's a looker. Does it fit in the hand? Yes, absolutely. Does it fit in your pocket? Hell no. This will not fit in your pocket. This is a more of a like chuck in your bag situation. Now, it's been, put together by one or two guys that just have a vision of creating wild and wacky products and handhelds with the actual motherboard of those consoles. For example, this here has an original PS2 motherboard cut down and slimmed into a portable form factor, and they've basically added in a bunch of PS Vita buttons, Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons. It has your shoulder buttons on top, your power in, your on button. It's even got fans to keep it cool. And then on top you have your SD card, and that's where you load in all of your games. So to turn it on, you press on and it will sync up to the display. And this display inside is 4.3 inches, 16 by 9 and a 480p resolution. And I press the button up top to turn on the display, and you can hear the fans. If I kind of try and push this near my mic, you can hear the fans working. So this isn't a silent handheld at all. It almost sounds like a small Harrier jet. So this is what you're greeted with when you load up your PlayStation Portable. It has OPL inside, which is basically a new OS that uses the USB drive in order to play your PS2 games in a handheld form factor, because there's no way of putting discs in this thing. So you basically grab your PlayStation 2 ISO files and install them on OPL. But I did have a lot of trouble with this, and I only managed to get a few games working, but that's because I had a Mac. So if you are picking these up, I highly advise you having a PC to do all of the back-end stuff. It's not easy, it's very complicated. It's definitely not pick up and play like most of the handhelds I review, but it does work. So you have your games on here, and if you want to play them, you just open them up, and I'm going to play Burnout 3 Takedown here because it is one of the best PlayStation 2 games of all time, hands down. A lot of you will disagree, but it is. So there's a look at some of the gameplay. Do PS2 games work flawlessly? Yes, because this is a PlayStation 2, technically. And it also means that PlayStation 1 games also work because of the backwards compatibility. So in terms of like, I'm not even going to call it emulation because it doesn't emulate anything. This plays PlayStation 2 games near perfectly, or perfectly in fact. Why I say near is because you probably can't see it, but this display used has this very weird green hint to the blacks. Now, I messaged Phoenix Retro Mods who create these consoles, and they weren't too sure why that happened and why it's green. It may be this unit, but I'm reviewing it as it is, and there's a very light green hint behind the display, which gives the black a very dark green look. So it's not the best gameplay possible. It might just need a different display, but in terms of gameplay performance, this plays PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 1 games flawlessly. Now, in terms of like build design and build quality, it's not the best build quality, I'll be honest, but that's because it's only one or two guys behind it doing this as a hobby. Nobody's getting, these to be produced in factories or anything. It's just two guys with a 3D printer or something a little bit better than that, creating these things and cutting down actual PlayStation 2 consoles to be able to put it into a handheld form factor. I like that they used PS Vita buttons. I like that they've added home buttons and volume buttons and stuff onto the actual handheld. You can change the brightness of the display. Like all round, it looks okay, but comfortability wise, it's very, very heavy. It gets a little bit warm. It's quite loud because of the fans, and the analog sticks, the trigger buttons are placed quite awkwardly for a adult's hand. So I do feel a little bit cramped after a while. So like, if you had to ask me, is this worth $800? I'm probably not the typical demographic who buys this. This is aimed at someone who's wanted this for a very long time, perhaps collects handheld consoles, and this is just another addition to their very expensive collection, basically. But I like what they're doing, and this, for me, this handheld is an insight into what's potentially coming. $800 is very expensive, don't get me wrong, but the fact that people are starting to trim down these motherboards and create these consoles is quite exciting, because what's going to happen is that if these guys are selling a lot of units, they can start producing better quality units, perhaps get a factory, then all of a sudden you're getting very, very good quality PlayStation 2 handhelds for hopefully an affordable price. But you know, PS2 emulation is quite hard on even things like some normal PCs. So having a PS2 handheld in an emulator is going to be, it's not going to be around for years to come. So this is the only way really, as of now, if you're willing to spend a lot of money to get PlayStation 2 games working flawlessly in a handheld form factor. But you're going to have to pay the price. You're going to have to cope with the poor build quality and the average comfortability, and obviously the low battery life, which I get around 2.5 hours. So if you want to see more, I could do some more videos on Twitter and stuff. Follow us over there in terms of like gameplay and games that you want to see. But for those of you that ask, yes, God of War will run flawlessly on this thing because it is a PlayStation 2. So there you have it, a look at the PS2 Portable. I do have a few more crazy handhelds coming up on the channel, so if you do enjoy this video, hit subscribe, and if you want to support us further, you can do that on Patreon on the links below. As per usual, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.